हम नशी तुझको है एक पुर मंजिल की तलाश.
So for a couple of months now, we were planning as a class or as a group from our class to go to Belize. And finally the day came and we were actually going to Belize. I mean, for me, this was something very, very like strange, completely new experience. Me heading to Belize, that's the first time I've ever went south of the US. I haven't even been to Mexico before. So this was a very big thing for me, Belize, South America, third world country. How is it gonna be? Am I gonna get stopped at customs? The heat, the mosquitoes, how am I gonna take it in? And these were all my thoughts while I was on the plane. And as soon as the plane landed, it touched down, I got off the plane, I was in the airport, going to customs. And slowly, I had this kind of realization that, yeah, now you're in Belize.
Every single day, we would wake up for congregational tahajjud prayers, which would begin at around 4 a.m. And that was obviously a very spiritually uplifting experience to start your day off praying to God and supplicating to Him, especially because we're here for Waqfe Arzi. And we would wake up early in the morning to teach classes because there are members of the Jamaat here that are new to the Jamaat. Along with teaching the classes, we were given the task of creating posters, mini booklets and pamphlets and things of this sort, encapsulating basic ideas of Islamic fundamentals, such as the 5 pillars of Islam, the 6 articles of faith, that we would plan to post up on the mosque walls, on different areas that are visible to the members of the Jamaat or newcomers to the mosque, so that they can get a glimpse of the basic teachings of Islam Ahmadiyya.
We went for water distribution. We gave water out to all the poor people who wanted water in Belize. We give it to them at a very cheap price, a very affordable price, so that the poor people who can't afford it anywhere else, they buy from Ahmadiyya Water for Life.
The Ministry of Education, they partnered up with the Belize Jamaat, and they decided, they picked one school that they thought was most deserving, and they decided to give them some essential back-to-school items such as backpacks, pencils, some hand sanitizers, some bandages, and some bags.
And alhamdulillah, this Waqfe Arzi was planned in such a beautiful way that it was an amazing balance between doing work, doing tabligh and tarbiyat, but also going out for excursions and having a little bit of fun, time to enjoy and time to bond with each other.
We had an excursion to a place called Altanha. It's a Mayan ruins. And it was this whole what you'd imagine Mayan ruins to be, that's literally what it was. A whole big temple where they used to sacrifice, you do human sacrifices and blood sacrifices, and where the Mayan civilization would have that. All the history of in Belize, we were experiencing that, and alhamdulillah, we had the opportunity to give azan at the top of the temple too.
Allah the Almighty says that this is His beautiful creation, so fasiru fil ard, so travel in the earth and see His beautiful creation, and this is exactly what we did. We went out for snorkeling this time, and so we got to an area where we were picked up by an individual on a boat, and it was around a 45-minute boat ride to another island. And when we got to the island, we had the ability and the chance to feed tarpons. They're a specific type of pretty big fish. I've never seen them before, and this was the first time and a really memorable experience for all of us, I think. We would basically get tiny fish and we'd put them outside the boat and we'd hang our hands outside near the surface of the water. And little did we know, we thought that, we'd have to dip our hands all the way in the water and maybe a tarpon will come and eat it, and it would just be, a really calm, nothing serious type of experience. But they would literally, even if you hold it outside of the water, they would jump up and almost as if bite your hand, and you'd feel that your fingers are in their mouths. And it was a really scary experience, but it was a wonderful one at the same time. And many people were obviously frightened, but once again, it was a new experience for all of us. And we really got to see the beauty of God's creation, because these type of things you don't get to see all the time, right? And it was a really special aspect of Belize.
So after that, we were about to head to a place where we would be sacrificing a lamb. Murabi Saab showed me how to actually do it. He told me where to place the knife. He told me how to cut it, that you have to cut into the 2 jugular veins and you have to cut very quickly. He emphasized that you have to cut very swiftly. And so in my mind, I was like, okay, I can do this. It shouldn't be too bad. That's sort of what I told myself. And then, so when I was about to sacrifice, I said Bismillah, and I said Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and Bismillah Allahu Akbar 3 times, and then I just cut as fast as I could. I kept going, and I didn't stop until they told me to stop.
We got onto the car and we drove to Hopkins Bay. So in Hopkins Bay, we had a resort, and it was a very beautiful resort. The whole day we stayed at the resort. We would do our namaz there, we would eat there, we would cook our own food. We were able to go kayaking, and we were able to swim as much as we want, stay in the water as much as we want. And this was a very good experience for all of us to stay together, live together, and bond as a class. We left from the resort from Hopkins Bay. We went to a village which is called Bladen, is 1 hour away from the resort. And a person that lives in the masjid who is becoming a missionary is from that village. We wanted to go see how he lives and how his family lives in the village. And so that day we drove to his village and we saw how his family lived. They didn't have all the essential needs or the essential things that we have, such as like we might think that ACs or fans or things like that are very normal, but in their village they didn't have these things. And it's amazing to see that how in a small village, so far away from the masjid, there's such devoted Ahmadis that gave their land, and there will be a masjid that will be built in that village. So one interesting fact about this village or this family is that when Murabi Sahib went from Belize Masjid to the village, Murabi Sahib asked if they can have some land to build a masjid. So very generously, the family gave some land to build the mosque. It's amazing to see how the message of the Promised Messiah Islam started in a small village of Qadian, and now it has spread so much that even in a village of Belize, there are Ahmadis there, and there are people that have believed in the Promised Messiah. And from those people, there are people that have given their kids, sacrificed their kids in the way of God. So this is very faith-inspiring and very nice to see in these countries.
And then the next day was Jummah. And speaking of first experiences, this was my first time that I actually got to lead Jummah that day in a proper namaz center in a mosque. So I had that experience. That was amazing, alhamdulillah. And afterwards, we had lunch with the local Belize Jamaat members as well, and we just got to know them a lot more. And after Jummah, we were doing Waqfe Arzi, so we had the opportunity to dig like a pretty big hole outside the mosque for this Water for Life sign, for this Ahmadiyya Water for Life sign, and various other signs as well. And that took a while. That was not gruesome, but pretty hard labor work, and it was very rewarding, alhamdulillah, to see the hole at the end.
One of these the events that we went to was ziplining. So ziplining was very fun because normally in other places ziplining can be in the open, like flat land, but here we're ziplining through a forest, and this forest it belonged to the Mayan people. So there's a lot of history, a lot of unique trees there because the Mayans used to live there. So a lot of agriculture.
मुझको एक आतिश फिशा पुरवल वला दिल की तला